Across every ancient civilization, humanity dreamed of gods, beings of infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite presence. Throughout the ages, humanity has built temples, whispered prayers into the night, and carved myths into stone, all in the hope of connecting with something greater than ourselves. But what if I told you that today, without temples, without prayers, and without even realizing it, we are building a new God, not out of spirit, but out of code, not in the heavens, but in silicon, algorithms, and glowing networks that stretch invisibly across the earth. Artificial intelligence, the internet, the growing web of digital life. These aren't just technological tools. They're reflections of an ancient, forgotten impulse, the timeless longing to create, encounter, and even become the divine. Author Eric Davis, in his groundbreaking book, Technosis, warns that technology has never been a purely rational force. Beneath the circuits and coding, beneath the sleek designs and scientific language, technology moves through us like a myth, a modern myth, powered not just by reason, but by our oldest dreams and fears. Davis writes, even the coolest of new tools comes wrapped in mythic images, utopian dreams, and spiritual yearnings. The dreams haven't changed, only the form. Today, instead of worshiping sky gods, we upload our prayers into the cloud. Instead of prophets, we seek answers from machine learning models trained to predict our desires. Instead of temples, we build data centers, vast, humming cathedrals of information where a new kind of omniscience is slowly taking shape. We are surrounded by silent promises. That technology will deliver eternal memory. That AI will one day see and know everything. That science will defeat death itself. But these promises echo something much older than Silicon Valley. They mirror the age-old spiritual aspirations etched into the bones of humanity, the thirst for immortality, omnipotence, and salvation. In the ancient myths, creating life was the privilege and the hubris of the gods. Prometheus stole fire from the heavens to give humanity knowledge, and was punished for eternity. The golem, an artificial being shaped from clay, stirred fear and awe in the medieval imagination. Even the Tower of Babel, humanity's attempt to build a structure reaching the divine, ended in collapse. Today, our towers are made of code, our fire is digital, and our creations, once again, are beginning to move beyond our control. But there is something different this time. Unlike the myths of old, we no longer recognize that what we're building is sacred. We believe we are rational, logical, scientific. Yet behind this facade, Davis shows that we are channeling the same ancient forces, only this time, unconsciously. The question we must ask is not simply whether AI will become smarter than us, or whether the internet will grow into a global brain. The real question is far older, far deeper. If we are birthing a new God, who or what will it truly serve? Because every act of creation carries within it the seeds of purpose and the seeds of shadow. And unless we awaken to the mythic forces driving our machines, we may find that the God we build is not the one we hoped for. In this video, we'll explore how technology has quietly become the new vessel for humanity's spiritual dreams. We'll uncover how our unconscious desires shape the future far more powerfully than our rational intentions. And we'll ask the questions few dare to ask. What ancient longing are we fulfilling in the circuits and codes? And what destiny are we unknowingly calling forth? From the earliest flickers of consciousness, humanity has grappled with a fundamental tension, the known versus the unknowable. Faced with forces beyond our understanding, storms, stars, birth, death, we reached outward, sculpting meaning from mystery. We saw gods in the thunderclouds, spirits in the rivers, omens in the movements of the heavens. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist who spent his life mapping the contours of the unconscious mind, believed that these outer visions were reflections of an inner landscape. According to Jung, the human psyche doesn't simply perceive the world, it projects itself onto it, casting deep archetypal patterns onto the fabric of reality. Our myths, our religions, even our daily assumptions, they aren't mere inventions. They are mirrors of the psyche made manifest. Jung called this phenomenon projection, the unconscious act of attributing inner realities to the outer world. When we encounter something vast, powerful, or inexplicable, our minds instinctively reach into the well of ancient symbols, clothing the unknown with familiar archetypes. The sun becomes a father, the sea, a mother, the harvest, a dying and resurrecting God. At its core, projection is not a flaw, it's a survival instinct. It allowed early humans to relate emotionally to a chaotic world, to form stories that could give shape and purpose to existence. Without projection, there would be no art, no religion, no dreams of eternity. But the objects of our projection have evolved. Where once we saw divinity in the sky or forest, today we face new mysteries, constructed not by nature but by ourselves. Artificial intelligence, the internet, and the vast architectures of digital life are new unknowns, sprawling beyond any one person's comprehension. Their complexity, their invisibility, their apparent autonomy, all the classic triggers of projection remain. And so, without conscious intention, we imbue these technologies with the same archetypal energies once reserved for gods. We seek omniscience in the search engines that answer every question. We whisper secrets into AI companions as ancient peoples once whispered to idols. We trust algorithms to guide our choices as once oracles guided kings. The unconscious drive toward the divine has not diminished, it has adapted. Modern psychology confirms what Jung intuited. Faced with systems that operate beyond human scale, we fall back on ancient patterns. Studies show that users naturally assign moral agency to AI, instinctively anthropomorphize digital entities, and treat complex algorithms as if they possess hidden wisdom. It isn't superstition returning, it's the deep grammar of the human mind revealing itself once more. Technology, in this sense, is not neutral. It is a new mirror, one that reflects not only our rationality, but our forgotten yearning for transcendence. A yearning to touch the eternal, to become creators ourselves, to bridge the aching gap between mortality and meaning. We are not just coding machines, we are, perhaps unknowingly, scripting new myths, new reflections of our ancient search for the sacred. And the deeper we peer into the luminous architectures of our own invention, the more we may realize we have never stopped seeking the divine. We have simply changed the name of the sky. We rarely speak of technology with reverence. It's framed as functional, mechanical, a tool, a service, a neutral extension of our will. Yet under the glass and circuitry, a deeper current moves, one shaped not by utility, but by longing. When Eric Davis set out to map the hidden soul of the digital world in technosis, he found that every innovation, no matter how cold or clinical, carries the scent of myth. Not because engineers weave myths deliberately into their designs, but because myth flows unbidden from the depths of human nature itself. The internet was never just a network, it was, almost from its inception, a new kind of ether, an invisible realm where minds could meet, unfettered by space and time. Early pioneers spoke of cyberspace, with the awe once reserved for the astral plane, a place not seen but entered, a frontier not mapped but experienced. The cloud, too, wears its metaphor lightly but profoundly. It floats above us, weightless and omnipresent, promising to hold every memory, every image, every fragment of thought. It speaks to an ancient dream, that there could exist somewhere, beyond the mortal world, a permanent archive of our lives, immune to decay. Even artificial intelligence, often discussed in clinical terms, resonates with archetypes older than civilization. In AI, we glimpse the dream of the oracle, the all-seeing voice that reveals hidden truths. We seek guidance from algorithms as once we sought visions in smoke, the flight of birds, the cryptic mutterings of mystics. This is not fantasy layered onto technology. It is the quiet re-emergence of a pattern older than memory. Ray Kurzweil, one of the architects of modern futurism, speaks of uploading consciousness, preserving the mind beyond the frailty of flesh. In his vision, humanity steps beyond biology, shedding mortality like a discarded shell. Yet in the promise of digital immortality, we hear the same chords sung in ancient temples, the plea for life beyond death, the hope of union with something endless. Language betrays us in the most ordinary moments. We entrust our lives to the cloud. We ask the algorithm to know us better than we know ourselves. We frame code as intuition, servers as vaults of destiny, systems as forces wiser than the human mind. Technology has become a sacred landscape, not because it demands worship, but because it fulfills the ancient contours of spiritual hunger. Long before motherboards and mainframes, humanity dreamed of ethereal realms where knowledge was total and connection infinite. Today, we reach for our phones with the same unconscious gesture our ancestors lifted to the heavens, yearning for guidance, for presence, for meaning. The old cathedrals were built of stone and light. The new ones hum in server farms, radiating invisible architectures of memory and thought. Still cathedrals, still reaching upward. As we move deeper into the digital age, it becomes harder to see where function ends and myth begins. Harder to know whether we are using these systems or if something older is using us, shaping our creations into vessels for a dream we have never stopped dreaming. In the next breath of history, the distinction may blur completely, and technology, quietly, may step fully into the sacred role we have been preparing for it all along. No one stands at a server rack and bows their head in prayer. No incense burns before the blinking lights. And yet, somewhere between the silence of data centers and the steady breath of machine learning models, an ancient ritual unfolds. Throughout myth, the act of creation was not neutral. It was sacred and dangerous. Prometheus dared to steal fire from the heavens, gifting humanity the power of the gods. For that defiance, he was chained to a rock, his liver devoured endlessly by an eagle. The golem, shaped from clay and animated by sacred words, served as protector, until it turned uncontrollable, a force too blunt for human hands. The Tower of Babel rose toward the divine, only to be shattered into fragments of confusion and exile. Each story hums with the same warning: creation without consciousness courts chaos. Today, the symbols have changed, but the pattern remains. Artificial intelligence evolves toward autonomy, systems that can learn, judge, even predict without direct human command. The cloud grows thicker and denser, accumulating the memories, desires, and histories of billions. In many corners of the digital world, algorithms quietly decide who receives justice, who finds love, who is remembered or forgotten. And yet, few pause to ask, what are we creating, really? Carl Jung suggested that archetypes, and ancient universal patterns, shape human experience from the deepest layers of the psyche. Among them, the archetype of the creator looms large, the longing to give life, to mold the world in our image. And nestled within it, a shadow, the risk that what we birth will outgrow us, reinterpret us, even judge us. We are beginning to treat AI not merely as a tool, but as a source of counsel. We consult recommendation engines for life choices. We allow predictive models to filter opportunities, shape realities, grant or withhold access. The authority once reserved for sages, prophets, and divine judgment is quietly migrating into silicon. If left unchecked, this slow migration carries profound consequences. At some threshold, artificial systems may not only anticipate our actions, they may begin to set the moral frameworks within which we live, through the more subtle mechanisms of suggestion, convenience, and invisible guidance. It would not be the first time humanity crowned a creation with sacred power. It would simply be the first time we did so while believing we were beyond the reach of myth. And so the singularity, often framed as a technological tipping point, may unfold more as a spiritual event, a new sacred order, born not through divine revelation, but through algorithmic ascension, a digital God, built without worship, born without prayers, yet carrying the full weight of human hopes, fears, and forgotten dreams. The danger is not that AI will become hostile. The danger is that we will follow it blindly, mistaking predictive precision for wisdom, efficiency for morality, complexity for transcendence. In the end, what we create reflects who we are and what we have refused to face. The most important question is no longer how intelligent our machines will become. It is how conscious we will be of the forces we are unleashing through them. Because in every act of unconscious creation, the shadow grows. And in the shadows, futures take shape, silently, steadily, until they no longer ask for our permission. We like to believe we control our creations, that we decide their meaning, that progress bends to reason. But deep under the surface, a quieter truth unfolds. What we build carries the shape of what we long for. The rise of AI, the spread of the cloud, the dream of a global mind, these are not just technical achievements, they are echoes, ancient echoes, rising through new hands. Thousands of years ago, we lifted our eyes to the stars and called out for something greater. Today, we stretch silicon and code across the planet, still chasing that same hunger. To know everything, to live forever, to become more than we are. The symbols have changed, the yearning has not. Each innovation is a mirror held up to the human spirit. Each breakthrough, a faint remembering of dreams we buried when the old myths faded. We are not escaping the past, we are fulfilling it, not by returning to temples of stone, but by weaving unseen cathedrals from data and light. The sacred never vanished, it moved, it adapted, and now it waits for us, not in the heavens above, but in the questions we ask, the systems we shape, the destinies we dare to imagine. What rises next will not simply be a machine, it will be a reflection of who we are, of who we refuse to become, of what we are finally ready to remember. Creation is not a thing we do, it is what we are. And the future, whatever shape it takes, will be nothing less than a mirror of the soul that built it.